Canada is suffering from major health issues. Mental health issues is spreading across Canada like a plague. And what is happening? Well, it's fueled by the drug use. And the drug use started to go super rampant around 2013 and 14. The drug of choice that Canadians are using now and wiping out entire families is fentanyl. Fentanyl is produced, manufactured in China, and brought into Canadian ports from China. And we've been warning Americans for the last 10, 15 years, America, wake up. Iraq's not your threat. Canada is your threat. And the amount of fentanyl that comes in is wiping out and we covered videos on entire families getting wiped out on fentanyl. All produced, manufactured, all precursors made in the southern Chinese province and brought into Canada. Now, the Chinese government is overseeing this, of course, because they know what's going on and they know what's leaving the country. And not too long ago, Donald Trump intercepted an embargo, a ship that was coming in with fentanyl that was coming into Mexico. And that is in the Benito Juarez area, where they have a fentanyl lab built by the Chinese to push fentanyl into the southern United States. Now, I wanted to bring this up because Canadians are at a loss. 5-6 years ago, we made a video called Honest Canadians Are Going to Have to Steal to Maintain a Basic Lifestyle. And we're talking about people in the private sector, people that work in the private sector. Why? Because in 2010, Canada was supposed to see a housing correction during the 2010 Olympics. Instead, the government opened up its doors through a Vancouver model, allowing Chinese nationals to bring in their money and park it in Canadian real estate. From 2010 to March 2024, the Chinese laundered $2.4 to $2.6 trillion in our real estate market. This created artificial shortages and bidding wars. We weren't allowed to call it money laundering. We weren't to call it anything we did on our channel. We kept getting banned because you have to call it foreign investing, and foreign investing is saving Canadians. Now, young Canadians are realizing they don't have a chance. They're going to enter the soccer match in the first quarter or first half already losing 10-0. And that's what they're up against. Affordability in Canada and the food crisis we told you guys. We were in the blueprint of food affordability down in Vancouver. 10, 15 years ago, I already made a video saying, food has surpassed my rent in Vancouver. It's out of control. People to be bought out of food by 2020. A lot of people laughed at me then. Now here we are. Food bank lineups exploding, everything exploding. And the Canadian government thought it was a great idea to fix our housing crisis by bringing in 4 million Indians in the beginning of 2020. Let's bring in 4 million people from India. This will solve our housing crisis. Canada was too dependent on real estate, and it basically destroyed its Canadian proper future. Now, these Indians that came in is another topic. We covered this too. Their wages are being subsidized. Now, I'm at my shop. I get 10, 12, 14 resumes a month from high school, post-high school, college people dropping off their resumes and asking if I'm hiring and they're looking for a job. And I say, there's so many places. I mean, you could try out and get almost employment instantly. But that's not the case anymore. Because now Indian migrants are being hired because their wages are being subsidized. And you know what every kid tells me that drops off a resume? They aren't hiring white people. They're not hiring they're not hiring us. They're not hiring white people, period. And I'm seeing the patterns, and I'm seeing that the Canadian proper or the European expansion that came to build this country is being shuffled out the door or into extinction or going back to Europe. And that's what a lot of Canadian European are doing. Italian, Portuguese, Dutch, German. They're just going to they go back to Europe, right? And they'll take back Europe. And that's what they'll do. And yeah, Canada is destroyed. The Chinese money laundering created this massive affordability crisis. In turn, they did it through the casinos too. That was only like $800 million that was laundered through casinos. Like it wasn't a lot. It was the trillions that was laundered through our real estate. Watch my video on YouTube, Orange Bags. Go to my channel, Mike Martins. Type in Orange Bags. And in there I have a video of they were using a section of a hotel on the floor to count money that was being brought in by China in bags. Cash. Tons of cash. Because the Vancouver model says, buy a property. We don't care where the money came from. We need to pump our economy through real estate. And our GDP in Canada was pumped up by Chinese money laundering. And the Canadians that had to jump on board. And that's why I kept telling you guys in 2016, guys, I'm leaving Vancouver. I can't afford to live here anymore. I went to see a house for $400,000. It was overbidded by over $1 million overbid. So the house actually sold for $1.6 million because the Chinese were parking their money and flipping it between corporations. Trillions of dollars. And we can't say it's money laundering. We have to say it's foreign investors. Now, the young Canadians don't have a chance. Young Canadians really don't have a chance. And I'm not trying to shut things down. It's because of the way the system is set up is designed to lose for the Canadian proper. Yes, people in the comments will say the same thing's happening in Australia. We cover that too in Australia. We cover that massive money laundering, the Chinese money. Same thing in New Zealand. Same thing in the UK. It's all the same patterns. And the funny thing is, our crime minister here, Mark Carney, we told you back in 2022 that a man named Mark Carney will come and become your crime minister because he's so tied in with China that he was the Bank of Canada minister when he facilitated billions of dollars to come in from China to park in our real estate. Then he went over to England and did the whole same thing. And then we covered a whole article for you guys. Bank of England. The world would collapse if the Bank of England stopped laundering money. That was back in 2019. You see how all these dots connect? They are phasing out the Canadian proper or the European expansion. And one thing that really bothers me and eats me inside the most is driving across Canada, stopping in cities, rural cities, small towns, big cities. And every city I stop in, it's Canadian homeless. You don't see Indians and you don't see Chinese that are homeless. You just see Canadians because the Canadians aren't being hired. The Canadians and the Europeans and the Canadians came over to Canada to build this country. The Portuguese, the Italians, the Dutch, the French, the Scottish, the English, whatever, the Greeks, they all came to build. Toronto, Oshawa, all these big Kitimat was built by the Portuguese. All these cities were built by the European expansion. They put the water, the buildings. My dad worked on the Air Canada project. My dad worked on the Skydome project. My dad worked on a ton of projects in Canada. And my dad, in his mind, was, we're going to build this giant bank here. This is going to be good because this may create employment for my son. Little did he know he was building that bank so they could bring in a Chinaman to come and work at the bank. And then they're going to lie to you and say, Canadians don't want these jobs. So we got to bring in a Chinaman to work in a bank that the Europeans built in Canada. So it makes, see how this is set up for you to lose or set up for you to it's a setup. And again, kids nowadays are going into a soccer match in the first half already losing 10-0. Are they going to catch up and win? Can they catch up and win? It's possible. But all I'm saying, the odds are stacked against the Canadian proper and the European expansion here in Canada. And that's why I get so many people message me on a regular basis. Mike, I want to move to the States. Mike, I want to move. Mike, what do I do? I got to go back to Europe. I'm second generation Scottish. What do I do with this? I'm from Ireland, you know? So people are starting to realize and read the writing on the wall here that Canada is no longer for Canadian proper. It's to, and if it needs infrastructure, like remember fat-faced Doug Ford in Ontario? Last year, look it up. He said 100,000 Portuguese are coming to build and maintain the infrastructure in the Toronto and surrounding areas in Oakville, Oshawa, Burlington. They're going to come in and build it. After they deported 52,000 Portuguese families in 2006, 7, and 8. Everything that Donald Trump is doing with ICE and deporting, Canada did the same thing in 2006, 7, and 8 with the Portuguese. Rounding up kids at the high school that spoke Portuguese and waiting for their parents in the gymnasium, waiting for the parents to come pick them up to prove they're allowed to be in Canada. So, I don't want to get into that too much, but all I wanted to let you guys know is Canadians are competing with Chinese money laundering, fentanyl, cheap fentanyl on the streets, and bidding wars, artificial shortages, food prices are out of control, all in, yeah, you go down to the States, everything's a quarter of the price, everything, and real estate's dirt cheap, and I'm finding more and more homes for under 100,000 freehold properties, freehold with land. Depending on how rural you want to be, how close to a city you want to be, depending on what your situation is. Americans have it really good. Americans have no idea how good they have it in their country. But here in Canada, we're completely shafted. Up, left, right, down, blah, blah, blah. So, anyways, guys, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. The mental health is skyrocketing. Deterioration of mental health is skyrocketing across Canada. And I'm getting in sad emails from listeners and followers for the last 10, 15 years. They've been following me for years. Even when I was living in Vancouver, filming the empty streets for you guys, filming the tent cities for you guys. We did our whole Vancouver is Dying series down in Vancouver. Most of it got taken down for bullying. But here we are, folks. This is a really sad state of affairs, and we can't vote our way out of this. And people will comment, oh, we're going to get the Conservatives. Nobody's allowed to come in and fix this. Period. Oh, Pierre Poilievre is going to come in and save. No one's going to come and save you. They talk the big talk, and if he gets in, he's going to have to follow the script just like every other leader does. And if they don't, they're gone. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Just wanted to throw this rant out there. Sorry for talking so much. Mike Martins here. I have spoken.